What is shunning? I want to answer this question a little bit more in depth because I know that this is something that a lot of people ask and want more understanding around it. Now, just to know that different Amish communities may shun a little bit differently, I had a really interesting conversation with a gentleman in the Old Order Amish Church when I was there in Ohio a couple weeks ago. And it was a really interesting conversation, and I'll share a little bit about it. But am I shun? Yes. And the reason that I am shun is because I was a member of the Amish church, which means I was baptized in the Amish church. So I was a member for 6 months before I then ran away and left the community, which then means the church is supposed to shun me. Now, what I will tell you is a couple weeks after I had left the Amish community, I was living at this couple's house, and I remember very vividly the lady came into my room one day and she said, "Hey, there's a horse and buggy out in the parking lot. They want to talk to you." And I said, "Who are they?" And she said, "They're the preachers." And I was like, "Well, I'm not going out there," because I already knew why they were there. I knew that they wanted to come and get my okay and my approval for them to put me in what they call the bond, which is shunning. And they have to do that first. So the rule of it is that they have to go ask the person first, which was me. They needed to get my approval. They needed me to say, "Yes, it's okay, you can shun me." And I said, "No." And I said, "I'm not giving you my approval because I don't agree with it. Do with it whatever you want." They sat out there for 2 hours before they finally left. So then what happened is they had to go back to the church, and all of the members of that church community that I was a part of had to come together one Sunday and vote. Of course, no one's gonna not vote yes to shun me because they're all in agreement. And even if someone was in disagreement of shunning me, if it was 1 or 2 people, if they spoke up and said, "No, I don't agree with shunning her," then they're in trouble. So it's this whole ripple effect. So with that being said, they did not get my okay. They went back, they voted, I got shunned. Now, here's the thing. So shunning can mean various things for different families, and I feel like a lot of different Amish families, they decide on what level of shunning they're going to do. Let's take my mom for an example. My mom allows me to come visit her. She loves when I visit her. She's amazing. She's a superstar. One of the things that very early on, she stuck to the shunning very, very strictly, where she wouldn't even take this pen from me. If she were to take this pen from me, now she's in trouble and she has, not obeyed the rules of shunning. So basically, I can't hand anything to her and she can't hand anything to me. That's the rules of shunning. She's also not supposed to sit at the same table to eat as me. Okay, there's no supposed to be no communion. But with that being said, my mom, she's not as strict as some. So some Amish communities, they are so strict, they don't let their kids even come home unless they're there to stay. They're like, "You're not welcome here." And they also make them dress Amish to come home. My mom does not. That's why she's a superstar. Now, the story I'm about to tell you is very interesting because I sometimes didn't know where she stands, but I'm very clear now where she stands now. Because the last time that I was at home, I was there with my friend Drew Bingsky, who's doing a documentary on my life and like where I grew up. And so Drew's there with me, and Drew says, "Hey, I want to get some stuff from her. I want to purchase some stuff from her." So I just told my mom, I said, "Hey, we're going to get a couple of things." And these are things she would normally sell. Well, when I told her that, she said, "You guys can just have it." And I said, "No, Mom, we're not just taking your stuff. We're going to pay for it." And basically in a roundabout way, she tried to tell me, "Well, I can't take money from you." But she was trying to be nice about it. And I said, "No, Drew's going to pay for it. And he'll take it, like he wants it." And as soon as I said that, she was fine. She's like, "Oh, okay. If he pays for it, it's fine." Now get this. I have 3 younger siblings that also left the Amish community. They were not members of the church. So because they were not members of the church can't shun them. And therefore, when they go home to see my mom, they could go to her produce stand, they can go to her pantry, they can go to whatever, goods that she's selling and hand her money and say, hey, I want to buy this from you. And my mom takes the money. No problemo. I'm the only one in the family that has left. That was the rebel that left after she was baptized into the community. Therefore, the church shuns me. And when I was leaving that day, this is the conversation that I left with my mom. I love my mom. I respect her. And when we were having that conversation, she said, and this is the part that makes my heart sad because I know truth outside of the Amish community. But she said, she goes, that's just the way it is and I have to follow the rules. And I was like, and she basically said, listen, I'm willing to follow the rules of the church and I would love it if you would honor that so that we can keep our friendship. She's like, let's be friends. Let's stop. Basically, she was like, let's not mess anything up. I want to be friends with you and I want to have a relationship with you. And I was like, you know what, Mom? I said, I have no disrespect towards that. I said, if those are your wishes and that's what you want, that's what you get. No questions asked. And I think that we can learn from that. Do I agree that the shunning should be a thing? No, I don't agree with that. But I also understand that there's a part of life that I understand and have conceptual understanding of that she doesn't. And she only knows that. Whether or not she fully agrees with it is another question. But I decide out of the love of my heart that I'm going to respect my mom's wishes and I don't hold any anger, resentment, ill feelings towards her. It is what it is. What am I going to do? But I had a conversation with a guy that is part of an old order church, completely different belief system. And he kind of, talked down on my community, the Swartz and Trooper community, where how they shun and all that stuff. And so I asked him this question. I said, so do you shun? Does your church shun? And his answer was, well, yeah, we do, but we do it in the right way. And I wanted to be like, but what is the right way? What defines the right way of shunning? I didn't get that answer, so I would be very curious. What is the right way of shunning? Because from what I know, I don't think there is a right way of shunning. There you go. That's shunning.